So here I've got some audio footage of me debriefing with Kevin. So you'll see a bit of an insight of, how we sort of summed up everything post-session.
Yeah, so like overall, yeah, no, I think it's been positive. Yeah, I'd say like as a kind of main thing, it's obviously when you're in conversation, it's about kind of pushing boundaries a bit more. Like when you're actually in a conversation, I think like creating that more emotional connection. So like you'll get like ordinary mundane information a lot of the time, but it's about sort of like taking that information and building something interesting out of it. That will like elevate your conversation to a much better level. So, it can be something as simple as, for example, a girl, like this is a really, really basic example, but like say you say to a girl like, oh, so what are you up to just now? She says, oh, I'm going to go meet my friend. You could just say, oh, you're getting drunk tonight. It's like you're accusing her or something. Because what most guys do is they're just like, oh, that's nice. Oh, you're gonna.
Yeah, you can elaborate. What's the plan? To go hit the clubs? Dance on the tables.
Tear the place down, go crazy.
To increase your body count.
Whenever you accuse a girl of being a bit crazy or being a bit wild or something like that, it's always very powerful because you're essentially taking like ordinary information but creating it an exaggeration.
Yeah.
And it's more emotional, it's more emotive, it engages her more. It's a bit flirty as well, it's humorous. It combines everything basically.
Basically, you should not be speaking to her where it's HR friendly.
Yeah.
If it wouldn't get you in trouble with HR, then you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
It should be sort of non-formal.
Yeah. But you get that, right? Because from what I kind of gathered from your conversations that you did do today, a lot of it is very sort of like a bit platonic, but it's a bit sort of over analytical in a way.
Look, you just put this outside the door.
You were
the next door, 26.
You were going to nick it after. So, but does that make sense? Yeah. It's really about kind of expanding on what you're normally going to get is like normal sort of ordinary information, but turning that into something more interesting. Yeah, so it's about turning that into something more interesting, because and so think also about sort of teasing. Because the one thing that's going to get you to that next level conversationally is thinking about ways of injecting humor, teasing, challenging. Yeah. So like the typical thing is that you meet a new person for the first time and you're a little bit guarded about like the sorts of things that you're saying. So like because it's a new person, you want to like you're not going to like push the boundaries too much because it's a new person. But if you kind of disregard that fact, pretend almost as if you already know that person, you're already assuming familiarity with that person, then you'll be able to build that connection much more easily and seamlessly, if that makes sense. So, not being afraid to sort of break that fourth wall, almost disagree with her on something, for example, that's very, very powerful. A lot of guys don't do that. And she's going to remember you a lot more because of that as well. She's going to think like, oh, there was something about that guy. There was something a bit different. He wasn't afraid to challenge me. He wasn't afraid to tease me, And oftentimes it's about active listening to like key bits of information she reveals to you. She says that she does X, Y, Z for work. You then take what she says, instead of coming up with a literal response back, you would then, ridicule it in a kind of more abstract way, in a more creative way. So it's like, no, I don't believe you. You're not an accountant. You're giving me creative vibes. I think you're a fashion designer or something. It's that's just one example, really. If that makes sense. Yeah. That's one of the things I just noticed about your conversations. It's a bit like, for example, with the English girl and the ones which I overheard as well. It's like you're covering topics and you're expanding topics, which is good. But it's about kind of making them a bit more interesting and a more emotionally engaging as well. If that makes sense. So like, cause like what most beginners guys do is that they get information, they're like, oh cool, and then they ask another question, or they like jump topics and stuff like that. Or they just ask a whole bunch of questions, or they do a bit of that and then they just run out of things to say really quickly. Like you don't have that problem, which is really good.
That's good. Okay.
So it's about kind of combining this sort of like emotive chat, or what I would call like creative chat, you know, humor, teasing, challenging, being a little bit argumentative in a way. It's about combining that with just normal chat, like normal getting to know you chat, which you're already doing, which is easy, which is relatively easy. But don't confuse normal chat with boring chat. So like she might say, oh yeah, I'm Romanian. And then be like, oh, that's cool. How long have you been living here for? Oh, cool. Do you like it here? It's like, that stuff is okay, but why don't you find out why she actually moved here in the first place? What does that say about her personality?
Why?
What does that say about her character?
Yeah.
You know, what kind of person is she? Is she adventurous, spontaneous? She likes traveling, things like that. Then you expand on that. That's how you build that more powerful connection as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and that's going to be a key thing we're going to work on the next couple of days, because I feel like when you're in conversation, like it's very intermediate level.
Yeah.
But it's about pushing past that to get to a more advanced level.
Okay.
You know, it's like, yeah, it's been a bit of a contrast today in terms of like there's some approaches which you just don't want to do.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, for me, from my perspective, it was like trying to understand, is it just anxiety? Is it just he doesn't resonate with him? You know, which is fair enough. You know, if it doesn't resonate with you, that's absolutely fine. I actually would prefer you just to say to me like,
it just doesn't resonate.
Yeah, I would prefer.
So there's like, I'm a very particular person. So, like people have said to me, I get a really unique way of thinking. Like, do you think that's? Yeah. Do you think that?
No. I mean, I think, I have noticed like your perspective is different, much more different to the typical client that I've coached, which is a good thing, because it's like, you know who you are, you know how to express yourself, you know what you want, and that's a very, very positive thing. And I'm actually glad that you've revealed that to me, actually, because a lot of the time I just give advice to guys and they're just like, okay, cool.
Yeah, you have to. It's like essentially has to be tailor made for every student. It's like a different. It's like going to a tailor. It's like, okay,
exactly.
The Savile Row suit that fits this guy isn't. You put on me, it fits. If put on you, it doesn't fit.
And the thing is that like what I do, generally speaking, is give generic advice.
Yeah.
But it's very good if you can sort of turn around and say, actually, you know what, that particular thing doesn't really resonate with me. So like, you know, for whatever reason that is, and you don't even necessarily need to justify yourself as to why you don't, for example, don't want to approach girls walking away from you. You know, that just might be a thing. I just don't want to do it.
Yeah, there's that. And then, okay, it just doesn't, the shops, the grocery store, those kinds of places, like those resonate with me.
Yeah.
Like I think that's awesome.
Because what I was trying to find out initially was, do you have anxiety to do it, to transfer that onto the street, or is it just like a case of you just
there's
don't want to do it?
There's definitely a little bit of anxiety. Biggest reason it doesn't resonate. Number 2 reason, when I go back to the States, I know I'm not going to be doing that.
Right.
And then number 3, yes, anxiety.
Yeah.
But
it's mainly about doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
Ultimately, with this whole thing, like for example, you know, some guys. Some guys will say like, you know, some guys will say like, oh, I don't, you know, you have to do the front stop. Yeah. Whenever you approach a girl walking.
I will not do that. Like, no, we're not doing no front stop. No, the jump in front of. Like, no.
It's like, you know, and that's the thing. If you like, in some ways, like a part of me sort of thinks that like.
Have you done the front stop before?
Yeah, I do. I used to do it all the time. Yeah. I do it a bit less now, but the way I do it is I do a big sort of semicircle. Yeah. So it's a bit more subtle and it's a bit more less theatrical.
I do that, but it's like, oh. She already sees me and then I casually turn around.
Okay, that works as well, where you walk a bit in front and then you sort of turn around. Yeah, that works. I do something sort of similar to that as well. But, you know, like when it comes to like the traditional front stop where you sort of pop up sort of relatively close proximity, like, you know, if that doesn't resonate with you, and honestly, that doesn't resonate with a lot of people. A lot of people don't like doing that. And then you've got a whole bunch of other people who are like, yes, that is the way to do it. That's the way to optimize your approaches.
So you get a lot of students like,
I understand both.
Street, they love the street, but then you bring them into the coffee shop. They're like, oh hell, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And so they develop their comfort zone in the street. And I can understand both those perspectives, but from my point of view, I'm trying to kind of figure out like, is this person unwilling to do it because it just doesn't resonate with who he is and who he doesn't want to be, or is it a case of he's trying to make it easier for himself, and he's kind of bullshitting himself? So that's kind of where I'm trying to figure that out.
It just don't resonate.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's
like tomorrow, because I had the night game with Eddie.
Yeah.
So, okay, I already like when I go out and do day game, like, okay, yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I feel good doing this, etc., etc. But then, like, nowadays, like, this used to be less true back in the day, but nowadays it's like, okay, if I, like, night game is something I look at as like, oh, it's a chore. I don't really like it. I don't want to stay out late. Drunk girls, like, a girl who's drunk is, like, the most unattractive thing to me. I'm finally starting to realize.
Yeah.
Like, okay, tomorrow night game with Eddie. That's gonna be like the final test. See if night game resonates with me at all anymore. Like if I'm not feeling it tomorrow night, like it's the final nail in the coffin. Like I'm just not even gonna think about it.
Yeah, no, that's a really good sort of perspective, I think, because it's about a lot of what this is about.
Me going out to do night game now is like I want to go to bed. Like
yeah, I'm a bit like that as well, actually. I have moments where I really embrace it and get into it and enjoy it, but then I have other moments where I'm just like, oh, this is fucking tedious. I can't be bothered. I just want to go home and sleep. Yeah, because I'm a bit. I feel like you're a bit of an introvert / extrovert, a bit similar to me. So like I'm naturally I'm naturally introverted, but I have an extroverted side as well. You know, hence why I do this, and it's something you can cultivate over time as well. But yeah, it's a lot of what this whole process is about kind of experiencing new experiences and finding out if it resonates with you.
Which it's doing. I think it's doing an awesome job at. Like I knew going in, okay, I'm a good level of proficiency, shops, malls, etc.
Yeah.
But I know once he asked me to do street approach, I'm like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
It doesn't resonate with me. Like, just it's not natural to me. Like, and I, maybe, okay, I'll see the value in it someday. Let's say I move to another country. Like, okay.
Just to simplify it from my point of view, I totally respect that and I totally agree with that. As long as it's not a cop out and as long as it's not you're pissing out. If it's not that, then I'm totally okay with that. Yeah. And obviously you have to decide for yourself, and you have to be honest with yourself with this whole process. Ultimately,
it's like the intentions with this training is okay. Skills number one, and then I forgot the other thing I was going to mention. Like figuring out like what your natural proclivities are. And how when and where can you use those skills? How well that can be applied. I don't see where the street approach is going to fit in how it can use. I mean, I know it's very feasible. It's feasible even in the United.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, a lot of the time in the US, because it's so car centric. Everyone's going around in cars. But you might decide to travel more in Europe and Latin America, where the street is going to be a lot more viable. So that's just something to bear in mind. Ultimately,
And then if I'm in that situation, okay, I'll know, a weakness / hesitancy of mine is the street approach. But if I can overcome that, that's going to help me out. Because I knew that demon was there. I was like, okay, today I was presented with, just how strong that demon was. Like the street approach shit. So,
yeah. And it's a good experience. It's a really, really good experience to find that out. And, now you know. With the English girl that you approached, sometimes when they invest, they're going to ask you questions. And one of those questions oftentimes is going to be like, are you here by yourself? Are you with friends? What are you up to today? Something along those lines. And you say, my friends are just over there. That's okay. She might look over briefly, and then that's actually a good thing, because when you are approaching a girl, she kind of wants to know that that you're a normal guy. That's a big element of it. And when you show that you're with friends, then that adds a little bit of social proof, in the sense that you're just a normal guy hanging out with friends. So it makes her feel more at ease and feel a bit more comfortable with you because you're just a normal guy hanging out with friends, as opposed to some guy who's going around by himself, just going around picking up girls all day, which might be considered slightly weird from her perspective. So yeah, but even oftentimes, like when I'm with a friend and I'm doing this, I don't necessarily point him out. Oh yeah, it's that guy over there. I just say, yeah, I'm with my friend. He's around here somewhere. Just keep it casual, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, and like even if I'm by myself and I approach a girl, I'll just be honest. I'll be like, yeah, no, I'm just I was just getting some food or just going shopping or whatever. You know, I'm gonna head back home soon in a minute. You know, it's just about. Oftentimes, it's not about such a logical rationalization. It's more about just how. Just being authentic and just saying like, yeah, just noticed you here on my way back from shopping and I wanted to say hello. I'm feeling really tired now. I wasn't going to do it, but something made me want to do it. It's just about feeling that authentic, that right feeling in the moment and just going with it, just seeing where it leads to. You don't have to have such a logical thinking about it. It's like, oh, well, if I don't have friends with me, then it's not good. And then she's going to think I'm a weirdo. It's like overthinking too much.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good just to go with the flow and whatever the moment is, just going with that. Yeah, because when girls ask you questions about this stuff, they don't necessarily want to know the exact, precise, logical reason for whatever.
Yeah.
It's more about a general sense. It's more about general vibe, you know. So it's like, who is this guy? You know, she's not asking you like, where are your friends? Because she thinks you're a weirdo.
Yeah.
She's asking you, where are your friends? Because she wants to know what your vibe is.
Yeah.
She wants to know what kind of person you are. And she'll be picking up these things. Girls are very, very intuitive with this, whereas we obviously think much more logically. So you're thinking like, shit, what about the camera? What about my friends? Why am I with these 3 other dudes?
Yeah,
you know. But she's not necessarily thinking so logically.
I'm not the only one who. Am I the only one who thinks like that, or like of the people you've coached?
Well, logically.
Yeah.
No, it's very common.
Oh, okay.
It's a guy thing.
Yeah,
it's a guy thing. It's like us guys are very logical. Whereas girls are much more like intuitive and more emotional as opposed to logical. They're more socially intuitive, emotionally intelligent, etc. So like when they ask you a question, they don't necessarily want that logical response back. It's more about the feelings, more about the emotion conveyed. It's more about the vibe portrayed. You know, it's more about, you know, partly there is always going to be a logical component. She needs to feel safe. She needs to feel that you're cool. You're her type. You know, you've got your shit together. You've got these attractive traits. You know, you're ticking her boxes, which are logical. You need to be doing that, but you also need to be establishing that emotional connection as well. So, like, she might ask you a question. You don't need to reply logically. You know, you could say, you know, she might say, "So, what are you doing over here in the UK?"
Yeah.
You could be like, "I'm a US Navy SEALs operative on a secret mission to whatever," and then you just go with some funny narrative. So a lot of what you need to sort of start practicing moving forward is just being a bit more creative and less logical, and more abstract thinking, more fun thinking, more playful thinking, really.
Okay.
Yeah, it's easier to do that for the girl as opposed to for yourself.
Yeah,
but you can also do it for yourself.
They're wired differently.
Yeah. It's about speaking in a language that resonates with women.
Mm-hmm.
You know, once you practice this skill set, you'll notice a substantial difference in the way that girls react or feel around you. You know, over the years I've noticed that. You know, when I first started with day game, girls were just a bit put off by me. They just thought I was a bit weird, bit boring, a bit ordinary in some ways. Whereas now I can really sort of connect with them on a much better level. They really get that feeling with me because I know how to sort of connect with them better emotionally. And I'm naturally not a very emotionally intelligent person. You know, it's something I've had to sort of really experience over the years.
Yeah, that's also a thing I've cultivated over the years.
Yeah.
I've been working on that. That's I've cultivated that over the years. But it's going to take more time.
Yeah, I guess also because your job is quite logical as well. You know, that doesn't help.
That is one setback. Like, let's say if I was like a salesman or whatever, like, okay, I wouldn't have as many challenges with that. But
Yeah, because I mean, I've done
If you say
sales.
sometimes I feel like, okay, I'm making forward in this progress, but then now I got to focus on work, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, you're in that certain
Yeah.
headspace, and then it's like
then your brain starts wiring itself that way.
Exactly, and then it's difficult to transition towards, oh shit, I need to be more creative and now, because when you're out there, like out in the field, like you should be in a creative headspace. You should be like bouncing crazy ideas,
Oh,
you know.
You gotta be in a creative headspace for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like, she might give you some bits of information, but it's about taking that information, flipping it around, creating some funny narrative, and then throwing it back at her. Yeah.
I was just doing an improv class last month and stuff, so I don't think I mean, I was proficient enough in that, but it's not really something I just overly enjoyed, like see myself continuing. The next thing I'll be doing is stand-up, like actual stand-up. Okay. That's on my next little experiment.
Nice.
The guy I day gamed with in San Diego, he's like, hey, you got to do the improv. Like,
yeah.
All right, I'm going to do the improv.
See, that all of it, like, improv helps with this, definitely.
There's overlaps,
it definitely helps.
But, and I specifically did it for, like, this kind of stuff. It's going to help you in other ways, but it's not because I loved improv, but I saw the benefit immediately the first few lessons, but then I think I got out what I wanted out of that improv experience.
Yeah.
I think like my personality is more geared up toward like a stand-up.
Yeah.
Say, okay, I'm a writer. I write everything down. I can just associate things in my head, and then I have a loose I have like material that I know in my brain I can make funny jokes about. And I'm good with crowd work. So
okay. That's awesome. I mean, a lot of those skills, if you can do crowd work, which is essentially improv comedy, bring that stuff into this. Yeah. That's what you should be doing. That's the next step.
Improv, you don't really work the crowd, but in stand-up you do.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's getting a little off topic.
Well, no, not really. It's not off topic. It's very related to this actually.
Like if you're in a like if like people, if I had like a situation where out there, let's say I was the center of attention, like I would know how to like. It comes more naturally to read the people in the crowd and then give the right response, like whatever the situation is.
Yeah.
I can just do that instinctively.
Yeah, I think like.
But like one thing I learned with the improv, it's like you can improvise with a certain situation. It's like say something. Okay, this funny thing, this funny thing, this funny thing. But it's okay. Tell a joke about guitar players or doctors, like tell a joke about this random object or professions.
Yeah, it's a bit forced, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of parallels, I think, with that and doing this. I mean, in some ways, this is improv. This is street improv. Yeah. That's what this is essentially. She's going to be giving you information, and then you take that information, create maybe an interesting spin on it, funny spin on it. So those skills are very like interchangeable with this. And I mean, a lot of the skills with crowd work is 100% applicable to this as well. So it's either if you're not doing it or you're finding it difficult to do that with day game, then it's usually one of two reasons. It's either that you can actually think of things to say in the moment, but you're not allowing yourself permission to say those things, or it's a case of kind of the other way around. So you could potentially say those things, but they're just not coming to you in the moment.
It's more the latter. It's like I could say that, but it just hasn't come to me yet.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I just like to just see a situation, analyze it a little bit, which is what kills me a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But then I think that might be why I'm better in like a shop or a coffee shop versus in the street. It's just a lot of the objective of this training is just figure out how your mind works better, because it's just I just the way I think I am and like what other people have told me, it's like you have a really unique way of thinking. It's not that it's good or bad, but there are definite drawbacks, definitely positives, but I like to think to the extremes in certain areas and others not as much, or I'm like deficient in other areas. Like, I just got to figure out what my thinking patterns are, so it's leverage that to approach life in general. Like, I'm in this situation, and then this is how I think, and this is why the situation is the way it is, and then this is how I have to approach it instead.
Yeah, and it's about kind of.
Do you ever get clients that talk like this? Like, oh, I think about this on like that deep of a level? Is it? You obviously have the clients like, oh, I want to get laid, and that's it. I don't give a fuck about it. Does it get me laid?
Not as usually as deep as this, to be honest. But it's not always just about I just want to get laid as much as possible. So most guys actually just want to get a girlfriend. I'm
just more meta than most people.
Yeah, no, but I like that. I like these deeper discussions. I like to kind of go deep as well. And you find out more about yourself that way as well, and what resonates with you. So it's good to get this all out.
But I do have a unique way of approaching this. Do I?
I think so. Yeah. But that's a good thing,
But I just want to know, but because you might say no, and it's like, oh, you're just crazy.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've ever coached someone who found it who had their comfort zone indoors in like malls and shopping malls.
I'm the first one.
Probably, yeah, I think so. And then found it substantially more difficult in the street to approach a girl.
That's a golden nugget, because if let's say I knew less about this. Let's say I just found day game like 2 months ago. I mean, I've known about this for years. I just never really did it.
Yeah.
But let's say like, oh, I'm a 2 month. I know about day game for like 2 months. Like, oh, all I see is street approaches. That means what it is. Like, okay, I'm not good at that. That's not my inclination. So I'll just don't even bother with it. But like, okay, I'm an exception in that way. My natural proclivity is indoors, shopping centers, museums, whatever. Should I either just double down on that, or it's just all food for thought.
Because like when we started the day to day, like I was surprised in a positive way in certain ways. Like obviously the first instant date for the first approach, that was like really impressive. And interesting. But then following that, you were really getting into a lot of these approaches as well. Inside the stores, some of the couple of stationary ones. So that was really impressive. And so I was thinking, this guy's on it. This guy's on it. And then all of a sudden, when it comes to approaching a girl walking down the street, I was like, wait, what? What's going on here? So that was interesting, and that's a really interesting perspective.
And I expected that. So I didn't know how true that would actually be.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. It's like I want to play American football. It's like, oh, you gotta be the quarterback, but you're not built like a quarterback. You're built like the fucking lineman, or like, don't bother with the quarterback shit. You're 300 pounds. You gotta just ram through people. Or the other way around. Or just like, oh, you gotta be the lineman. Like, oh, well, you weigh 180 pounds and you're 6 foot. You gotta be the guy throwing the ball. It just. That's just golden nugget of information. Because I just, if you point that out to me, and like you've coached a million people, and you point out this is what your natural things are, I can either double down on what I'm good at or just work on what I'm weak. Know what I'm naturally weak at. And then deliberately improve that skill.
But if that weakness, if you have to also establish, is that weakness genuinely a weakness? That you want to improve on, or is it something that actually you don't want to focus on? That you don't want to focus on.
Is the street approach something that I should double down on, deliberately practice, or is it something that's just it's not going to be as big of a use case for me? Just keep doing what you're doing. I mean, because obviously, even just knowing that gives you confidence to just do better.
I mean, when we were out on the field. You said like you just don't like doing it, which is fair enough. That's absolutely fine. But obviously you need to make that decision, ideally very soon, whether it is generally something you don't want to do, and that's fair enough, because ultimately it's your choice. You've thought about it. You've considered it carefully, or whether it's something that you've just sort of dismissed as like, oh, it's unnecessary. It doesn't have. It's not going to give me that return on investment for the future. Whereas actually, you never know in the future, it's something just to consider. I would spend a bit of time just thinking about that particular point. And see if it's something, because it's totally okay to say no, or to to say no, this doesn't really resonate with me and who I am and that kind of thing.
Okay. All right, so tomorrow I'm gonna start off with the museum myself. Unless I'm gonna start at like 11, so I don't know if that's too early for you guys, but.
Normally you start at like 1. So, I mean, what you can do. I mean, if you want to be at the museum for 11, we can meet here at 1.
Yeah, it's not like the 11's not set in stone, because if you guys know your way around here. But if you say, fuck, you don't need a ticket, just meet me at 1 at the museum, then okay.
Yeah, I mean, what do you reckon, Eddie? Do you reckon meeting him at 1 at the museum or
that's
meet
fine,
here? Yeah, meet at the museum.
That's not a problem. I mean, it's close to me anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Did you specifically choose this location for the day game logistics?
It has to be, yeah.
Yeah.
This or nothing else. Nothing else. You know.
I was like, oh, he specifically chose that apartment to.
It's prime logistics. I've never seen anything as good as this.
It's
this level of logistics.
Apart from like when I was living in Mexico.
I have pretty decent logistics. I'm next to a mall.
Oh, here in London.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the thing is,
I actually have phenomenal logistics, but it's like, compared to this,
logistics are better for. Yeah. I mean, they're very, very useful, but if your game is on point enough and you're patient enough, they're not as big of a issue as a lot of guys make out.
Yeah.
Because, I oftentimes live away from the city centres and stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes, it might be the difference between getting laid on the first date or second date, but oftentimes you can kind of compensate either through Uber or the way you sort of play out the interactions. If you build enough of a connection, she'll feel good in your company, and then she might not mind a bit of a longer commute.
Yeah.
So there's all these factors, that play into it, and so a lot of it's the build up as well.
I mean, let's say you have Eddie who has perfect logistics, and then let's say where I'm staying right now, Pimlico.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, definitely people walking around, not the prime day game location, but there's potential there.
Yeah.
So that's only like this place will only be like marginally better than a place like Pimlico.
Well, it depends, because like what you can do. Let's say, for example, this was your apartment and you're with that Polish girl that you did an instant date with, right? You could literally just be like, okay, let's go to Big Ben. You spend a bit of time there. Then you bounce her to a bar or, just some place like near here. And then you start escalating more. You go in for the kiss. She feels really good with you. She's leaving soon, so she doesn't give a fuck. And then you say, listen, let's go back to my place. I'm literally 5 minutes away.
I gotta make sure.
See you guys tomorrow.
You're off now. We're gonna probably head off as well. Should we? Do you need to lock the door? Or?
No, Martin's here.
Oh, Martin's. Okay, cool. All right, cool. Yeah. So what were you saying?
I could. I gotta remember to text that girl.
Yeah. Text the girl. Yeah.
Cheers for watching. If you'd be interested in one-to-one coaching with me, where we'll go out in public and work on you approaching girls, or more generally with your social confidence, please visit my website ed-game.com.